From California last week, tonight we head over to the east coast of the country, to Hampton, Georgia, the Atlanta Motor Speedway, Hampton's suburb of Atlanta. Track's formerly known as Atlanta International Raceway, a track that you may recognize from the opening scene of the 1980 movie Smokey and the Bandit 2. But here we are tonight, here with Marshall, who is next to me tonight. On one side of me, and here you can see we got about 3 minutes left in practice now, just a little bit above that.
Yes, indeed. It's a pleasure to talk to you face to face here, Evan, and properly see both of us on the broadcast here. It's a pleasure. We did something a little bit different last week. Went to Long Beach, which is a very unconventional, you could say, track to take the stock cars out here in the on the NASCAR side of things too, but heading back to a bit more of a bread and butter track this week, getting to go to Atlanta Motor Speedway, and as you mentioned, has a long history in racing movies, whether for NASCAR or non-NASCAR related purposes. But yeah, it'll be a pleasure to come here tonight, get back to something a little more conventional, and it'll be an exciting race tonight. We got a lot to talk about, but I know it's one that will certainly test the drivers in a lot of different ways than in Long Beach, but it's still a very challenging race nonetheless.
Yeah, so looking at the notes, this track broke ground back in 1958, and it started as a 1.5 mile 2 track, but it reconfigured in 1997. So now it is 1.54 miles around, but it's not like your typical mile and a half. One of the main themes today is going to be tire wear. Tires are going to go by really quick. It's going to be about a 30-lap fuel window, a little bit less than that, depending on how well these drivers are going to save tires, which is going to be about 3 pit stops, but they only get 2 extra sets of tires other than the ones that they start on. So they're going to have one stop where they're not going to be able to change tires, and I believe Marshall was talking about earlier, just after a couple laps, the tires go away. Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, absolutely. I did some practice laps here yesterday just in an attempt to learn the track, get things figured out. And the one thing that becomes very clear is this track is going to drive drivers nuts. You lose patience with this car usually about 10 laps into the stint. And when I say that the tires will fall off, you can drive any line you want for about 10 laps. The fall off will be sending you into the outside wall by about 5 minutes in your stint. So to think you got to do that, about 3 times as long, about 30 laps along, and you're going to have to do a double stint, like you said there, Evan, where you won't be able to take tires on one pit stop. So now you're putting yourself in a position where you're taking the car straight back out with more fuel. Presumably, if we get green flag stops, running in a different pack than before, still with the same old tires. So there is going to be all sorts of very difficult situations that the drivers are put in when it comes to trying to get that car wheeled around, and it's going to make strategy so important to decide, okay, when do you want to take that stint where the car will be slower? And it's just brutal. I was frustrated yesterday running about 20 practice laps in like 5 different stints coming out of this race. I can't imagine what the drivers are going to go through. I really wish them all the best.
Drivers are going to definitely have to have a little bit of luck getting around this place. And another thing that I find interesting, if you look at our timing tower right here, we have one driver with the 30.94. That's the 88 of Hogan. But then you look, Hilbrands and Lacey, they have almost identical times, and so do Mathis and Hillman. The times are just so close up there at the top. Now it drops off a little bit once you get 6 on back, but that top 5, those are some close times right there.
Yeah, I think if I were to make an assumption about what that could be, running in practice yesterday, you get that first couple laps where you're on very new tires, very loose, which traditionally would serve as a negative aspect. But here, where you're just trying to get the car around the corners, that little bit of oversteer can almost be ideal. So in a sense, you're only going to be able to run your best lap here in the first 1 or 2 laps of your stint, and for that reason, the ideal conditions happen right at the beginning, and thus everybody can use them. So the same way that you go to Daytona and all the times are very similar, because everybody's just running the same way. You go out, and for the first 2 laps, you all have the same amount of fuel. You're all doing the exact same thing. That's kind of the same way here. Is there's only one way to run it. You just try to run the bottom with a little bit of oversteer, just get the car around. And it's not like other tracks where it can take you quite a while to get that qualifying time set. So we might see that again in qualifying, but come the race, it's going to be an entirely different skill set from qualifying that'll be needed to win this thing.
Yeah, so right now, you see qualifying obviously starting, but let's go ahead and look at our current point standings. So you see the top 3 drivers have won races. That's why they're so far ahead. They're really not that far ahead in points, but obviously that's just because they have won races and they're already locked into the chase. So that's going to be Nick Nickerson, Brandon Jackson, and Dustin Franklin up there at the top. But currently the guy who has almost as many points as Nickerson, he's sitting in second place in points if you weren't factoring in the wins, is going to be Benjamin Lacey, the number 7 car. He has run a really good season so far, the 3 races that we've had, and he's continuing to work his way on up there, maybe even get in there if he doesn't win a race. But we even got some other drivers. Robert Mathis sitting there in 5th, real good in points. A lot of guys. The birthday boy, Christopher Ferrara, they're in 6th position. The number 13 car, it's his birthday today, so a shout out to him. And also, as I'm going to let these points scroll, while we're talking real quick, today is the Stand Up for Cancer. We're benefiting that today here at Atlanta. The Stand Up for Cancer 115. See the 51 car of Curtis Yancey, the first car to put a qualifying time down. But since we're benefiting Stand Up for Cancer, if you want to go ahead and go to the YouTube page, there's a link in the YouTube bio. Very first thing, if you want to donate to Stand Up to Cancer, it's just you click the link. You can go through that. You can donate through credit card, PayPal, whatever, but it goes immediately to Stand Up for Cancer. No middleman or anything like that. So if you want to donate to that, of course, would be very appreciative. And just another really important thing, this is also an important day for Hunter Henry, driver of the number 94 car, because this race is going to be in honor of his father, Keith Henry. So good luck to all these drivers, and especially Chris Ferrara, since it's his birthday today, and Hunter Henry, driver of the 94 car. Again, thank you for sponsoring this race and allowing this event to be held benefiting Stand Up for Cancer. So big thank you to you.
Yeah, such a pleasure to put on the action for such a great cause. And both the drivers you talked about there, both Christopher Ferrara and Hunter Henry, have had great seasons to this point. I've really been impressed with what I've seen from them so far. So surely to say that one of those 2 guys, or maybe even both, could have a good night to, in respect of their particular special reasons tonight, I'd say it's more than likely we could see one of them have a great night. But currently we're on board with the not so much on board. We were looking there at the 39. Now this is the 43 of Christopher Platt, who's had a good season for his own purposes so far. I remember him being very quick there at Iowa, and the first oval back since Iowa. We'll see how we can transfer those over tonight at Atlanta.
And real quick here, you can see the shape of Atlanta Motor Speedway, just a fairly normal 1.5-mile oval, but one thing that I want to bring attention to it is 129 degrees Fahrenheit track temperature, so a really hot, slick track, 83-degree ambient temperature here at the virtual Atlanta, 54% humidity, 5-mile-per-hour wind. And of course, as always, have to shout out BanditRacingLeague.com, the driver of that car right there, Bill Harkins. He does a lot to set up BanditRacingLeague.com. He works really hard on that website, as well as just running the league in general. So a big shout out to that. A race full of shout outs so far.
This one shout out we should make in concerns to the qualifying times. Brett Guzik now jumps to the pole, and doing so by about 0.04 of a second over Cody Welch, which again doesn't seem like a significant amount at any other track. You think about Nick Nickerson and how far ahead he was in last week's qualifying for Long Beach, but you come here tonight, and just as you were talking about there, Evan, in practice, the top times there on the timesheet can be so close at a track like this with the conditions on the cold tires. So the fact that Guzik was able to find 400 really speaks to how much pace he might have here tonight at Atlanta.
Yeah, that's definitely a fast time considering what we were looking at in practice, all practice. All the times were so close, and then great job of that 04 car to just jump out to such a big gap right there.
And I think the fact that he didn't run that time in practice really speaks to what drivers are prioritizing to practice for tonight's race. I mean, we talked about the tire wear and how important it's going to be to find a line that can, save the tires for as long as possible throughout the stint. So that kind of says that, okay, maybe Brett was putting all his time in practice into just finding that rhythm, finding that groove, not so much on the pure pace aspect. And when he finally got out there and tried to run a hot lap, well, he ran the quicker than any in practice, and then quicker than anybody in qualifying as we head into the last couple minutes.
Yeah, right now you're looking at the 13 car. Currently, that is the only car on track. So far, everybody has run a time, and here we go. We're gridding now. So the 04 of Brett Guzik going to be on your pole with Cody Welch on his outside. Let me go ahead and pull up our grid, and we can go through it. So like I said, Brett Guzik on the pole, Cody Welch to his outside. Third place, points leader Nick Nickerson, followed by Tony Hillbrands, Benny Hogan, Thomas Finsler. Then we have Benjamin Lacey in the 7 car, followed by last year's champion Ricky Hart Jr. Then we have Kevin Foster and Trey Ellis in 10th.
Starting 11th, we've got Jason Greenwell in the 83 car with Jonathan Platt to his outside. Christopher Ferrara, the birthday boy, starting there in quite fittingly the 13th spot in the 13 car with Curtis Yancey to his outside. Robert Mathis in 15th with Mason Flagar starting to his outside in 16th. Eddie Haggy starts in 17th. The Canadian Brant Graham in 18th there, a fellow Canadian like myself. Cale Zook after that in 19th, and Garrett Hall rounds out the top 20.
In 21st, we have Victor Weaver in the 23 car, followed by Hunter Henry. Shout out to him again. In 23rd position, Peter Murphy of the 38th, then Dustin Franklin in the 60. 25th position, Kim Janer in the 82, followed by Mac Nelson, James Healy, Bill Harkins, Rob St. Helen, and in 30th position, Joey Zaremba.
Starting in the 30s, we got Michael Ramos starting in 31st, Zach Hillman starting in 32nd, a fellow Marshall Moran starting in 33rd, Matt Crockett will start 34th. The top 35 rounded out by Mr. Alan Castle there, and I believe that will round out our field for tonight's race.
So there you see the 04 car, the Kia Hyundai Mustang. Kind of odd sponsor combination, but is going to lead our field to green here tonight at the Stand Up to Cancer 115 here at Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about it there in qualifying, but Brett Guzik had quite a bit of pace there in terms of just gaining hundredths of a second on the drivers around him. So we'll see if he's going to focus on that, trying to maybe break away with a bit of a lead here at the very start of the race at Atlanta, or maybe he's going to focus on that tire wear problem we talked about and just focus on keeping his tires for the long stint. It'll be very interesting to see how he focuses his efforts, and same to all the guys around him. It should be a very interesting restart, or very interesting proper start to tonight's race.
Nevertheless, lights are out on the pace car as the pace car makes the dip onto pit road, and the green flag is out. Brett Guzik leading us to green here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Cody Welch to his outside, followed by Nick Nickerson and Hillbrands. A little bit of a gap back though. Welch going to battle on the outside. Guzik tries to get his inside. Nickerson right behind him.
Yeah, what a great jump by Cody Welch there on lap 1. He just got a great run that almost looked like he was the pole sitter there from the outside, but now Nick Nickerson's going to jump down to his inside, kind of cover off his back quarter panel, so maybe that inside line starting to form up. We'll have to see where the pack is going to choose to slide in with each other in this very first lap.
Even though Hillbrands was back a little bit on the start, there he is challenging Nick Nickerson in that number 2 car, sitting in 4th position right now. As you see, the 85 of Cody Welch is looking to challenge Guzik for the lead.
Yep, Welch dropped into that line there with race leader Brett Guzik there on lap 1, and then Nick Nickerson decided to go for the top line. But once we get on the backstretch and the entry into corner 3, everybody seems to get into one big line, save for the guys a little bit further back in the field. Looking at this battle here mid-pack, that's Jason Greenwell in the 83 car, battling for 9th with Trey Ellis, and 2 cars going side by side for 11th after that.
Yeah, good battle back here in the back, but back up front we have the 04 of Brett Guzik still. And this is really one of those times where you have to get inside a driver's mind. Of course, you're really going to want to push. You want to try and get as much ground as you can, but that may not be the smartest move here. That's why you may see some of these guys be a little bit less aggressive than they would at some of these other tracks, knowing how quickly tires are going to wear off and how they're going to have to go a double stint on at least one set of tires. So you may see some guys try and lay back here.
Yeah, we're almost in kind of like a research phase to this race where you're just sitting behind other drivers trying to figure out what their lines are, what they look like, and then over the course of the stint, you'll see how their tires drop off, you'll see how they run compared to other people in the groove, and over time, maybe you can start to make assumptions about what line guys are running is the best one, but for now, everybody just seems to kind of be in a straight line here, going from the top to the bottom of the traditional racing line, and well, for the time being, nobody's popping out a line to make a move for position.
And as you say that, there goes somebody, I believe that's the 92 of Tony Hillbrands into the inside of Nick Nickerson. See if he'll be able to stick the pass here through 1 and 2.
Might be able to, but he's not going to have a very good run off of corner 2. Sent that thing real tough into the inside, but to keep it off the outside wall, and especially off Nickerson, he would have had to whoa up a little bit, but no, he's going to clear him for the time being. It'll be close into corner 3, but looks like he has cleared the 2 car, so new driver on the provisional final podium spot, Mr. Tony Hilbrands in the 92.
Back a little bit, the 7 car of Benjamin Lacey looking to challenge the 88 of Benny Hogan down to his inside. Going into turn 1 and 2, looking to make the pass stick. And you already see some of the guys kind of fanning out a little bit. You can obviously own a little loose there from, I believe that was Cody Welch. I'm not sure if he was loose or if there was a little bit of contact, but possibly something between Welch and I believe that was the 92 of Hilbrands, who's now fallen back a couple of spots.
Yeah, it looked like him and Hilbrands went side by side again through turns 1 and 2, and Hilbrands almost washed up a little bit, had to overcorrect to keep it off of him, and that's something that's going to happen at the start of this run, and you really just got to think about balancing risk versus reward. Okay, what is one position going to do for me in the grand scheme of things? And just as you see there for Hilbrands, he gained a spot a moment ago, but in that attempt to go for second, he's going to drop back up a couple spots and loosen tire wear. You see a little ways back, just had a big slide from one of those cars. I think it was a black and orange car running mid-pack. They're still on the inside of Trey Ellis. I believe that is the 72 car of Mason Flagar. So he manages to save it. He is currently in a battle with, to his outside, that is Christopher Ferrara, the birthday boy there in the 13th car. So two guys going to battle it out. Looks like for the time being, Ferrara will hold the better of that situation. But back up front in the field, we got another battle for second, this time between two different faces. That is Nickerson to the inside and Welch to the outside.
Yeah, Nickerson looking to make something work on the inside there of Cody Welch. Side by side, the two washes up just a little bit. Welch fighting hard on the outside, able to clear him right now, but we'll see if Nickerson can gain some ground back here into turn 1 and 2.
Well, what's different than this race, or at least this racetrack, than any other race we've run so far this season is really the outside is almost the preferred line. You'll see Cody Welch is going to lose a little bit of traction, a little bit of run there in the middle of the corner, but once we get off the exit, he's going to have a much better run, going to clear the 2 car, and Benjamin Lacey there in the 7 car. We talked about the best driver in points without a win so far. He's trying to make that change tonight in round 4, and he's doing his very best to fall with Welch, see if he can get by the 2 car.
And the guy that's really hoping that this battle continues for a whole lot longer is the 04 of Brett Guzik sitting up there at the front. I think it was at Iowa that we really saw where if you're up front and you're able to run by yourself, that is the best place for you to save tires. You're not racing with anybody. So the 04 of Brett Guzik, I'm sure he's up there trying to run quick laps, but just doing everything he can to save his tires up there.
Yeah, again, I can tell you from personal experience yesterday in practice as we see that's the 64, former champion last year of Ricky Hart Jr. heading to the inside, and that will move him up to the 6th place, passing Benny Hogan. But yeah, I talked about my practice efforts before, and just how much you have to focus to keep that car off the wall. I'd imagine trying to balance it out with a battle against a bunch of different drivers would make it a lot harder to do so. But speaking of battles between drivers, 2nd place, Mr. Benjamin Lacey is going to head past Cody Welch on the inside. Again, Welch will get the better run, but Lacey will have the track position heading into corner number 3.
Yeah, Lacey, who's had a great season so far, like we talked a little bit about before, your best driver that hasn't won a race yet. He's definitely one that's going to be in contention one of these next couple of races, as good as he has run at every single track that we have gone to so far. And there you see him able to make the pass for 2nd place, getting in front of the 85 of Cody Welch. And you also see the 92 of Hilbrands working his way up to 4th position, passing the number 2 of Nick Nickerson.
Yeah, that run there that Guzik's getting every time off the straightaway is helping him. He's just able to choose his preferred line, doesn't need the draft off of anybody. At this point with tires, it's almost more of a hindrance to have the draft ahead than it is to use it. So it's working there for Guzik. He's taken off, but once again, got a battle now between Hilbrands and Nickerson. Nickerson's been falling back a couple spots in the last few laps, and now he's just trying to hold on to his 4th place spot, and if Ricky Hart has anything to say about it, maybe even 5th.
Yeah, now the question is here, did Nickerson push a little bit too hard at the beginning, or is he just trying to save it? That's one of the things that you really don't know unless you're inside of the head of the driver. That's one of the things that we're wondering up here, but I'm sure that's one of the things that the fellow competitors are wondering. They see somebody falling back, and what really goes through your head, you're thinking, did they already use up all their tires, or are they trying to save tires and they're going to really gain on me later? You really don't know what other drivers are doing.
I'll tell you one thing, Evan. If I were in this race, I will have absolutely used up my tires by now. I would have blown a front left tire or something like that to this point. So the fact that these guys are still making fairly good lap times this far into the stint means that, well, there's a much more talented group of Xfinity drivers than certainly I would be capable of racing against, and including, of course, Brett Guzik, who's been pretty dominant all start to this race in the first 15, 16 laps. And Benjamin Lacey, who's broken away from Cody Welch in 3rd. Those two guys up front seem to be seem to be making the tires work there over a long period of laps.
So we got a pass now here for the top 10th. That's going to be Brant Graham and Thomas Finsler, the 14 and the 17. Finsler falling back to 11th, and Brant Graham, the 14, moving his way up into the top 10 now.
Yeah, Brant Graham definitely been the biggest mover throughout tonight's race. Got from 18th to 10th, moved up 8 spots. That's the most of anybody in the field at this point. So Brant Graham, you got to wonder, is he balancing it with the tires, or is this just him trying to burn them out at the start of the stint, make whatever passes he can? If you're able to defend properly, maybe not a bad strategy, but it's definitely going to speak to his abilities here at Atlanta if he's able to keep his tires up for the rest of the stint, even with all the passes he's made to this point.
Now here's Trey Ellis doing the same thing, moving up into 11th position, passing the 17 of Thomas Finsler. Robert Mathis behind him is going to look to do the same thing as well.
Yeah, Trey Ellis still able to defend the inside there. It can be easy to head down there, as traditionally drivers aren't used to having to pass on the top, and it does require a lot of trust with the driver on the bottom that they won't wash up. But Trey Ellis catching a little bit of the infield trioval, the trioval grass. He's going to lose 1 spot, maybe even 2 to Mathis. Just tried to cut it real tight to gain as much ground as he could through the trioval. And again, that risk reward that I talked about earlier maybe didn't work in his favor there. Just cut a little bit. Now he's going to lose 1, maybe 2 spots as a result.
Still out front, though, the 04 car. Working his way to a fairly good lead, almost a second back to the 7 car of Lacey.
Brett Guzik can't just be looking back right now. He's got to look ahead. He's just about to lap the 23 car of Victor Weaver, who's got considerable damage to his rear spoiler. But ahead of them, it's not exactly right in front of him, but Joey Zaremba a couple seconds up the road, then Rob St. Helen after that. So Brett Guzik is going to start getting into lap traffic here if we don't see a caution for a while, and at a track where it's so tough to keep a line on one zone, let alone with other drivers. That may prove trickier than we could possibly give credit for in this next couple laps.
And only 2 drivers a lap down right now. Victor Weaver, one of them, you just saw him go lap down, but also the 72 car of Mason Flager. So we're going to go ahead and head to an instant replay real quick, see if we can see what happened with him, because we saw where he was up front earlier. It looks like he just got into the wall a little bit. Got loose, wasn't able to hold on to it, and down into the inside retaining wall, but luckily nothing enough to cause a caution. And now he's sitting all the way back in 35th position.
Yeah, honestly, very surprised that wasn't caution-worthy. Certainly, maybe I'm just used to our race a couple weeks ago when it seemed like iRacing would call anything, even if it wasn't a real incident. So I'm surprised that we've had such a flip there, but it's a shame to see. Mason was doing well for himself there in the first stint, and that'll benefit a couple of drivers. One driver that in the last couple of laps we haven't talked about, but Ricky Hart Jr., who's, again, in one more spot, past Cody Welch there not too long ago, and Welch has kind of been hovering around the top 5, but he did lose a couple spots to Nickerson and Hart, so now Nick Nickerson and Ricky Hart Jr., top 2 from last season, will battle it out once again, and I know Nick was kind of in his element last week, but I mean, Evan, you know Ricky Hart much better than I. You called all of his championship season last year. Is Atlanta kind of the sort of track he'd do well at, something with a lot of tire wear involved?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just any oval, honestly. Ricky Hart Jr. just seemed to dominate almost every single race. He was one of those guys, I think we kind of saw it here. You see him kind of getting back to his old ways. He didn't really qualify up front. He qualified mid to the back of the pack, didn't set the best lap, but then when it came out to race time, he was one of the quickest guys on the track. He worked his way up real quick, and he stayed there. So he's looking to do that now as you see him looking to the inside of the 2 car of Nick Nickerson, trying to get that 3rd position away.
Yeah, Nick's not making it easy on him. He's basically putting the car right in front of the 64. They're using all the exact same identical lines, so not really the opportunity to do anything different, but Ricky's got an opening there on the bottom. Let's see if he'll get the run out of corner number 2 he needs to get him into 3. Doesn't look like he'll quite get enough, but he's still got the inside line, so Nick's going to have the more ideal line in terms of tires and keeping it off the outside wall, but Ricky does have the better track position, so as long as he can keep that thing straight, which it appears he has, he will make the pass, and now he has. So Ricky Hart Jr. up into 3rd, using that experience here at Ovals to make the move on the 2 car.
You see riding on board with the 2 car of Nick Nickerson. You see him right behind the 64 car of Ricky Hart Jr. And since we didn't do a pre-race track preview or anything like that, we're going to go ahead and ride along with the 2 car of Nick Nickerson. You can see him make a lap here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
And really, the one thing this camera kind of gives me the impression of is just how much banking it looks like this track has. It really doesn't look that flat compared to some other tracks that have tire management problems, like something like Michigan that's a lot flatter. So the banking may look deceptive here, but I promise you, these cars are washing up the track as much as they possibly can at a track bank this high. It's just the nature of Atlanta, and Nick is making it work, though. He's keeping right with Ricky Hart. He's using that slipstream to his advantage, and it depends on whether he wants the spot, but I certainly think that he'll have the opportunity if he's able to get it underneath the 64 into one of these corners.
And something interesting you notice, in second position, the 7 car of Benjamin Lacey, you saw earlier, Brett Guzik was out to almost a second lead, and now Lacey has closed that gap, and very quickly. But it's still a fairly large gap. Back to third position of the 64 car, Ricky Hart Jr., almost 2 seconds back from the leader there. But here, Lacey right on his rear bumper.
And this late in the stint, I mean, this is really speaking to not only the pace of the 7 car, but definitely how he's able to conserve tires, or maybe the inverse, how poorly the 04 was compared to him, at least. I mean, Brett is, you can't say he's doing poor at anything right now. He's the race leader, but that may change momentarily. The 7 car Lacey's going to send it underneath through the tri-oval and into corner number 1. And as long as those tires that seem to be working better for the 7 than the 04 hold through, he should get him on the exit of the corner, and he has. Benjamin Lacey is your new race leader here at Atlanta.
Yeah, 26 laps. 26 laps down. Goodness, got a little bit tongue-tied there, and a new race leader. And green flag pit stops should be starting very soon unless we get a caution. And speaking of that, I believe the 04 car, Brett Guzik, heading into the pits right now to start it off.
Yeah, what better signal that you need to come in and take some new tires than getting passed for the lead? He's going to head in, and so is the 85 of Cody Welch to my estimate. I believe that is him behind. So yeah, 2 of your top race leaders are going to head into the pits. Ricky Hart and Nick Nickerson will remain on track, as well as, of course, Benjamin Lacey, your race leader. We'll see how long he decides to stay out, but both the 85 of Welch and the 04 of Guzik are going to head into the pits and make it in fairly cleanly. So the top 2 in qualifying are now in the pits, the first 2 leaders to do so on pit road.
So the 85, I saw him jack up and get tires, but I'm not exactly sure if I saw the 04 get tires or not. That's what I was looking to see. But the 04 of Brett Guzik, I believe he is not going to take tires this stint. So not taking tires this stint, he will be able to take tires every single other time that he pits. There should be, after this, about 2 other pit stops remaining and 2 sets of tires left. So I'm assuming the 04 is going to be on old tires this race. Here you see the 7 car of Benjamin Lacey heading into the pits. That's going to make the 64 of Ricky Hart Jr., your current leader.
64 is going to lead the lap, which I believe will facilitate himself bonus points. But yes, the 7 car of Lacey is going to head in, and it really speaks to how big of a lead that he had, that he just went into 5th and dropped out of the top 5 just now. So he was certainly having a commanding performance there. Now Ricky Hart will become the last leader there to not take a pit stop to this point. But very interestingly, I mean, you talk about the strategy there, perhaps Brett Guzik not taking tires. We'll have to see if the drivers that just came into pit, including Benjamin Lacey, do, as Benjamin Lacey already into the top 10, and Ricky Hart is now coming for a pit stop right before the start of lap 30. But, I mean, you want to talk about strategy. You could argue that if you're not going to get lapped by the lead lap cars, those that do take tires here on this next pit stop, I mean, why not wait and save the tires for your last 2 stops, go without them now? Because from a math perspective, the only way that you could risk going a lap down, which is really what you're trying to avoid if you're Brett Guzik or any of the leaders right now at this point, is you just don't want to get lapped by whoever does take tires here. So as long as you are, well, it's about a 32-second lap here at Atlanta. So as long as over the course of 30 laps, you're about a second quicker than those guys that do take tires, which maybe Brett and those other guys that didn't take tires feel confident that they are, well, then you're okay. And you can feel comfort in not taking tires, keeping them to the end, being quicker when it comes down to it's time to battle for the win. And now we see Ricky Hart exiting the pits, but new battle there for the top spot. Benjamin Lacey and Nick Nickerson as we come into turn 2.
Yeah, Nickerson did a great job to stay right behind the 7 car of Benjamin Lacey, and there he is able to challenge for that first position. So even though Lacey is in the lead, Nick Nickerson right there behind him looking to challenge. And a new driver right now sitting in third. It's going to be Curtis Yancey, the 51 car. He has pitted already, moving up into third position now, passing the 04 of Brett Guzik, and a driver that we have seen do really good so far. Definitely one to keep an eye out on, sitting in third right now.
And Curtis Yancey would have had to have a great in and out lap as well, because if our theory is correct that Brett didn't take tires, whoa, somebody just washed in front of the 04 Guzik, and took that's Cody Welch in the 85 out with him. We'll have to see if he has left side damage there in the 85 car. Now a battle for the lead happening side by side through corner 4. There is so much to talk about. But yeah, Curtis Yancey, I was going to say, must have had a quick in and out lap, because if our theory about Guzik is true that he didn't take tires, then Yancey would have had to find that time to him some other way. But the 85 of Welch will now enter the pits. We also have a new race leader. What a chaotic lap number 31.
Nick Nickerson, race leader, 7 of Benjamin Lacey right behind him, and then you got Curtis Yancey in the 51 directly behind him. And a thing that I want to bring up from the comments of the YouTube channel from Dawson Guzik, apparently Brett has a little bit of damage from a lap car, so not exactly sure what happened there. So nevertheless, though, the 04 car with a little bit of damage, but still sitting in 4th position in the 04 car, so still a great spot for him.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but one of the drivers that was absolutely not a lead lap car, Mr. Travis in the 4 car, just zoomed past the 2 race leaders, just shot about a second ahead through corners number 1 and 2. So the number 1 car there, a lap down coming into corners 1 and 2, is now about a second clear of being a lap down once again. So maybe Trey's just trying to burn those tires up at the beginning of the stint, get his lap back, and try to hope to defend his lead lap spot for the rest of the stint. But now, again, this battle for the lead rekindled here. We got Nickerson and Lacey separated by only a 10th. Lacey doesn't quite get under him into corner number 1, but again, keep an eye there on both Curtis Yancey and Brett Guzik, within just a couple car lengths behind the 2 of them.
If we go ahead and pull up our pit stop time, here we can see, so Nickerson with a 9-second stop, Lacey with an 8-second stop, Yancey, Guzik, 8-second stops, Ricky Hart Jr., 10 seconds, Hogan with 15, so maybe a little bit of damage on him, as well as Graham, 17, a little bit of damage for him. Mathis maybe a little bit of damage at 15 seconds. I'm not sure if that's damage or what it is, but there you can see the times of some of the different guys. Kind of, maybe they took 2 tires, maybe they took 4 tires, who knows what they did into the pits. But there you see the 7 car of Lacey under the 2 of Nick Nickerson battle for first position.
Yeah, and they've been running that way for about an entire lap and a half to this point. The 2 and the 7 cars inseparable, running side by side, but we also had a side-by-side pass there for 3rd. Brett Guzik makes the move back on Curtis Yancey, so Yancey out of the top 3, back to where he began this last stint, and well, Brett Guzik will move back up onto the podium positions. But Benjamin Lacey there still pressuring the number 2 car on the inside. He's going to be burning his tires up lap after lap, so if there's any way that you want to kind of neutralize a driver who's as quick on the long run as Lacey was last stint, well, the way Nickerson is doing it is the way to do it.
Yeah, you see the 51 car of Curtis Yancey sitting back there in 4th position. He's looking like he's getting a little bit antsy. He wants to go somewhere. Car maybe just getting a little loose. I'm not sure, but I'm sure Yancey and Guzik are loving the side-by-side battle in front of them, because they know that that's just going to burn up the tires of the 7 car and the 2 car and hopefully give them an opportunity a few laps here down the road.
Yeah, it looks like that's more so what Curtis Yancey's trying to do. It doesn't look like he has any urgency to make it past Brett Guzik, but Brett Guzik is maybe not using that same mindset. He's trying to send it underneath not only Nickerson, but Lacey. The 04 car, as long as he can make it stick here through corners number 3 and 4, which it looks like as long as he can get the runoff, he will. It looks like the former race leader is back up front. He clears the 7 car. Brett Guzik, new race leader on lap number 38. But maybe I spoke too soon. Benjamin Lacey through corners, the tri-oval, now into corner number 1, is going to send it to the inside once again.
Yeah, it was a big pass for the 04, but the 7 just did a little crossover move on him, back down to the inside. The 04 powering off the corner, though, and back out to the lead. We'll see if he can hold it there this time as they go single file.
Yeah, the later you get into the stint, as the tires burn up more and more, the outside becomes more and more ideal of the line, to the point where it's actually quicker. So sending a car underneath doesn't necessarily really phase you as long as you're confident in your line, but the inside is now where Curtis Yancey resides. He's going to head down below on Benjamin Lacey and perhaps won't make it behind him, or at least underneath him into the corner. Looks like he won't, but he's going to have a pretty great run off the corner as long as he can stay in his slipstream, and maybe in a 2 and 3 might have the ideal line. Almost peek to the outside, gets a little bit of an oversteer moment. Now Nickerson's going to head underneath, trying to identify which of these cars behind is for position. That's Hogan and Mathis, the next 2 cars in the line. Where did they come from? They're both for position. Look at Robert Mathis in the 29. Great run. He gets past Yancey. He'll have a run on Nickerson too. Robert Mathis out of nowhere puts that car onto the podium positions, and if he has the speed he showed in that corner for the rest of the run, he may be looking at the number 1 spot before too long.
And there he goes now. Into 2nd position. He'll be trying to pass the 04 of Guzik here in just a second. 29 car with a huge run for Robert Mathis And a great move from him is, looks like he's going to try and use Mason Flagar up there on the top line as a little bit of a pick. Mason tries to get up as high as he can, but it doesn't even matter. The 29 car of Robert Mathis out to the lead. New leader passing the 04 of Brett Guzik.
Just wondering where he got all this pace from. We're like 11, 12 laps into the run. He should be having tire fall off by now, but he sent that thing underneath like it was his first qualifying lap. That was insane pace there. But now we got a 3 wide between Yancey, Lacey, and Nickerson, and then I believe that's Hogan there to the bottom in the 88 car. So many drivers in contention for the podium spots. Yancey's going to drop back a little bit. Hogan will get him. He'll go side by side with Nickerson. Going to have to check up a little bit, but he'll make the pass on the 2 car. So an entirely different top 5 than we saw just a moment ago, with the 14 of Graham and the 88 of Hogan moving into the top 5.
Yeah, I think if you look at our track map up there at the top right, you can really see how spread out all these guys are. There's cars all over the track wherever you look, but at the same time, the racing is just so tight. So that if you were here last season and you just saw the lack of cars and how much it was just run your own race and everybody was by themselves, it's really not the same way now. Pretty much no matter where you are on the track, you're going to be battling with somebody so far this season, and we'll hope that the trend continues throughout the season, because it's definitely been a fun race to watch. As you see the battle right now for 5th position, the 7 car of Benjamin Lacey, or no, the battle for 6th position, I'm sorry, 51 car of Curtis Yancey and the 2 car of Nick Nickerson, as Yancey able to move up into 6th position and Nickerson back down to 7th.
Speaking of making moves, Brent Graham just moved up to the 2nd position, making the move on Brett Guzik on the inside through corners 1 and 2. So in addition to Mathis, who's kind of moved up from the kind of 7, 8, 9 position range after stint 1, he's put himself all the way up to the top spot. Now Graham has done something very similar, putting himself in 2nd, still a full 2.5 behind your race leader Robert Mathis, but certainly making progress. He's moving through the field, and now we got to see if he can find out how the 29 is getting his pace and see if he can copy it himself.
Yeah, and if I had to guess, I would say some of these guys like Mathis in the 29 car, possibly Brant Graham in the 14 car, I would guess that they took tires on that stint. So at one point, they're going to not be able to take tires, but until they get to that point, they're just going to try and get as far out front as they possibly can. That would be my guess if I had to take one. You see a little bit of a move, the 94 of Hunter Henry making a move, moving up a spot into 15th position here, able to pass Christopher Ferreira.
Well, the one thing I think we should give credit to as well is if our assumption is that Brett Guzik didn't take tires in his first stop, the fact that he's still battling for 3rd with, well, Benny Hogan at his inside, we'll see if he can hold that spot through corners number 3 and 4, but the fact that he's still even competing for a podium spot with no tires 45 laps into the race means that once he gets back on fresh rubber in the final 2 stints, he may be a force to be reckoned with, making his way back through the field.
Yeah, that 04 is definitely going to be one to watch. Like I said, not sure if he took tires or not, but I don't think I saw the jack stands go up, so I'm going to have to assume that he took fuel only that stint. And like you said, definitely going to be a very quick car, since right now he's sitting in 4th position. But nevertheless, Robert Mathis in the 29 car doing a great job to go ahead and lead this race. 1.5 minutes in front of the 14 car of Brant Graham, and almost 3 minutes in front of the 3rd place car, the 88 of Hogan.
Well, 3 minutes seems a little bit more, expected of maybe Nick Nickerson's performance at a road course. But I think for the time being, Brant Graham has actually stalled out that gap that he's got to Mathis. I don't know if he can put up the laps or the time per lap graphic, but it's got to be close between Mathis and Graham. That sort of pace that Mathis had there for that about 5 lap period of time where he was absolutely flying seems to have stalled out, and now him and Brant Graham running almost identical lap times to the rest of the field that's about a half second behind.
Yeah, great job for him, and as well as Benny Hogan in the 88. It's been a great run for the 88 car. He really came out of nowhere. Honestly, started the race fairly low back, and you see a car coming out of the pits. I believe that was the 72 car of Mason Flager, who's right now sitting in 30th position. It may have been him. Maybe it wasn't. Not sure who it was, but nevertheless, great job for the 88 car, who's sitting right now in 3rd position.
One guy that seems to have recovered since the very beginning of the stint, Ricky Hart, is starting to make his way back through the field. He was down there in 8th. It was about 2 seconds back of the battle for 6th there for a while. So the fact that he made the move on Curtis Yancey to take that spot back and is now trying to charge down Benjamin Lacey means that well, maybe over the course of the long run, he prioritized better in this last stint, or maybe he's just finding pure pace here to Atlanta that he didn't have before. Whatever it may be, it's working for him, and one pass here in the number 7 car could put him back into the top 5.
Yeah, great run so far. As you said, for the 64 car there, you can see his in-car Skype camera. They're on VR. I know we utilize this camera a lot at Long Beach, but you can really see the hand movement and just how little he's trying to, how smooth he's trying to be with that wheel as he goes through the corner, as he's trying to make up all the time he can on the 7 car of Benjamin Lacey.
Yeah, it's so important to have small movements here to try to keep the car as steady as you can, try to scrub off as little time as possible, and it's working for him. Now going to maybe send it to the top of the 7 car. It's certainly going to be close. I don't think he's quite going to have the run he needs here, but maybe once we get on the straightaway, sends it underneath into the tri-oval. This may be the move for 5th. Nice move there by Ricky Hart. Again, you keep an eye on those hands, starting to get a little bit more shivery and jittery as he makes the pass, but maybe some bigger movements here as he gets by him, and now he's got to keep that car on the bottom line, not wash up into the wall, but he does so. So the 64 makes the move back into the top 5. Benjamin Lacey moves back to 6th. Now we'll see if Curtis Yancey has anything to say about this battle for 5th.
You see Curtis Yancey just passing Bill Harkins for the 7th position. There's Bill Harkins in the number 11 car. He's right now sitting in 8th position, and then Curtis Yancey here in 7th.
Well, we have a little bit of a break in the battles here, at least for positions up front. I kind of want to talk about Zach Hillman there, sitting in the 11th place spot. Fittingly, as we are doing a race for Stand Up for Cancer, another driver running a cancer awareness themed sponsor, which I believe is the, well, it's not the same, but very similar there for Zach Hillman. Very fitting on the same night as he's had an incredible race so far. While we've been on this green flag 53-lap stint, he's moved up 22 spots to this point. He started 32nd without a single caution flag. Has moved up now into the top 10 as he makes the move on, who was that in the 11th position that just dropped out? I believe it was Tony Hilburn. So he is finding time. He's making it up over the course of the run. And if you want an example of how maybe qualifying isn't always indicative of the pace drivers will have in the real race, look no further than the number 3 car.
Yeah, and while we're on a nice little break here as we head back to the view of the 29 car of Robert Mathis sitting out front, just went ahead and dropped the link to where you can donate to Stand Up to Cancer. Drop the link in the comments as well. It's also very first thing in the description of this YouTube video. So like I said, if you hit that link, you can see the dashboard. And in that dashboard, you'll be able to donate. You can, of course, watch the stream from there. No need to do that, though. You're already here on YouTube. But you can go ahead and donate to Stand Up to Cancer right there. And like I said, there is no middleman. You just go ahead and donate directly to Stand Up to Cancer, whether it be through PayPal or just your credit card. You can put it in right there. But no middleman, just goes directly straight to Stand Up to Cancer. So as we get back here, you see Robert Mathis and Brant Graham gaining a little bit of time on him. Brant Graham with less than a second. He's less than a second back from Robert Mathis, but you can see Hogan, the 88 car, sitting in 3rd position. Almost 6 seconds back. Guzik, 7 seconds back. So a fairly large lead for the 29 car so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody in the top 10 is starting to break up a little bit. No major battles except maybe for 6th there with Lacey and Yancey. But talking about this battle for 1 and 2, yeah, Graham is as we get later and later into this run, he's starting to find more and more time. And it's really interesting to think about because, again, we see at the start, right when the tires are at their best, several drivers are making a bunch of passes. We had a battle there between Nickerson and Lacey for the lead. And then we got a little bit later, you saw that great stint for a couple laps with Robert Mathis making all those moves and then putting himself in the lead. But since then, again, we've had kind of another change of the guard as Brant Graham is going to head into the pits here. But I was going to say we saw another change of the guard where now Brant Graham is slightly quicker. So it seems like over the course of the run, as the tires get older, so many guys seem to have different success levels at different, tire wear levels. So really interesting to see that kind of correlation. But Graham is in the pits. I believe Ricky Hart, no, he's going to stay out and actually benefit from it. Bill Harkins down to the top 5 as we now show his feet. He's trying to make the pass there on Benjamin Lacey. Neither driver has pitted yet, to my knowledge. So, well, Bill Harkins, another guy we got to talk about now, makes the move there up into 4th. So as we get on to stint number 3 in this next green flag pit stop cycle, we'll see how the 11 car can continue his run through the field.
Yeah, that's who I really wanted to talk about, is that 11 car of Bill Harkins, and a great run for the 55-year-old out of Debula, Ohio, I believe is how you say it, heading into the pits right now, but sitting in 4th position before he ducked off, and 23 car getting a little bit squirrely there in the pits right in front of the 11 and causing the 11 to have to run through a couple of pit boxes right there, and just barely missed his stall, having to back up some. But before that, a great run for the 11 car, as right now he's still only in 9th position. Robert Mathis, though, now heading on pit road from the race lead.
Yeah, Bill Harkin's a guy that I ran with yesterday in practice. I know he put in quite a few laps there, so good to see his experience is paying off, putting him up 24 spots from where he started at the point where he came into the pits. So he's had a very productive first 59 laps of the race for himself. But Ricky Hart, once again, for the second time tonight, is going to become your race leader. Always the last one to pit here on these green flag stops. So we'll see if that'll benefit him long term. It's certainly going to save him more fuel, meaning that his stops can be a little bit quicker the longer he goes. But it's really just a question of, can he keep the tire wear to a point where he's still running laps that aren't going to allow the undercut to work here, that being guys that pitted earlier getting some time on track because of his lap times. But now the 64 heads into the pits, so unless Eddie Hagee, who is in second in the 97 car, comes in, it looks like he will not. So not sure who the race leader will be. If Garrett Hall in the 26 comes in, then it will be Brant Graham. If he does not, he will become your new race leader. But he's slowing up a little bit now heading into the infield. So Brant Graham becomes your new effective race leader now with a 3.5 second lead there on Robert Mathis in second.
Yeah, as Hart, Hagee, and Hall all go into the pits, there you see Brant Graham right now back out to the lead as the 94 car is on his outside. That 94 car is going to be Hunter Henry, sitting in 18th position right now, who just got his lap back there from the 14. Hunter Henry has pitted 2 times. And you see right now, out of the pits, the 29 car of Robert Mathis, still sitting in 2nd position. Wasn't losing much time there in the pits. And here in 3rd, Brett Guzik, the 04 car. So good move for him to stay here in 3rd position, even though he is right now almost 10 seconds back from your leader, Brant Graham.
Yeah, I don't know when he lost all that ground, or if maybe if Graham just had an incredible pit cycle. But yeah, he lost, you could argue, a considerable amount. Guzik losing quite a bit to Mathis as well. So if our theory from before was correct, this would be the first time Guzik takes tires. So now we may see the pole sitter's pace start to show itself in the next couple laps. But he's got quite the gap to make up here now to the top 2 guys. And again, Graham, very surprised he was able to make that much time up on Mathis throughout the pit cycle.
Yeah, but Mathis is closing in just a little bit. As you can see, those times are inching just a little bit closer to the 29, ever so slightly gaining on the number 14 car, trying to work his way back up to the lead position in this race.
One thing we got to head back to as well, this battle for 4th. I think 4 drivers involved, or at least 4 for a moment, as Betty Hogan kind of got cycled out, but the 7 car of Lacey, the 64 car of Hart there in the black livery, and then the 61 car of Yancey in the white livery in the 51 are all in play here, all 3 battling for position. Though Yancey has dropped back, Ricky Hart is still looking for that 4 spot on Benjamin Lacey.
Yeah, Ricky Hart looking to make it happen. Sliding up a little bit, but able to make the pass, get in front of Lacey, and Ricky Hart is going to secure the 4th position. The 64 car into 4.
I think the driver really in the best spot of all this is Curtis Yancey, regardless that he may be the last place driver in this little battle of 3. He is still running kind of perfect ideal lines for himself here. I know he's a little bit low that time, but in order to make the move there, Ricky Hart had to basically run the qualifying line right on the yellow line there on the inside. So Curtis Yancey running a much more, you could argue, sustainable line there, a little bit higher on entry, and certainly not quite as low through the middle of the corner, though that time he ran a little bit low again. Smoke up ahead, but looked like it was just temporary, maybe a connection issue rather than an actual crash. Again, still cautionless through 65 laps to this point.
Yeah, I know you weren't here for last season, but honestly, this really feels like a Bandit Racing League race right here. 65 laps in, halfway, and no cautions so far, and no cautions in sight. Hopefully that's how it is the rest of the race, but this is really a true Bandit Racing League race, just all focused on tire wear, no cautions. Brant Graham right now still out front in the 14 car, but Brett Guzik doing everything he can to try and challenge, but still almost 4.5 seconds back from the leader.
That is still quite a considerable amount of time, but how did he make up all that time in like 5 laps? He was a ways back. Robert Mathis is now going to drop back to 4th. Ricky Hart is going to get the move done on him as well. So Robert Mathis, the guy who was former race leader, was running really well there in the long term, or at least kind of the middle of that last stint. He's going to have to find that same magic again right now because guys are passing him left and right, sending him a little ways further back in the field. Now Benjamin Lacey's going to take a shot, and he'll get him as well. So maybe Mathis is trying to prioritize the long run, but Brett Guzik continues to make up time to Brant Graham. You can almost just watch that number there on the timing tower and watch it just consistently dropping. So Brett Guzik, your pole sitter, he is getting some of that magic he was working there in qualifying back at lap 66 of this race, and can't think of a much better time to do so.
Yeah, I don't know whether Brant Graham is trying to save or Brett Guzik is trying to push, maybe a little bit of both, but great moves there as you see Guzik go inside of the number 82 car, a lapped car there. But great lap times there from the 04 car of Brett Guzik.
Yeah, and the 04 is definitely going to have momentum on the 14 car by the time he makes it up there. But if Brant Graham is just trying to focus on avoiding lap cars, I mean, on the track map, doesn't have any in his considerable vicinity. He's got quite a gap to the next car he's got to pass. If he's running a much more, outside, inside, sustainable is the word I keep using, but sustainable line, then he might be in a much better position to battle with Guzik by the time Guzik finally makes it up there. Because as you see, he's about to maybe shoot the middle between 2 lap cars. He's using all sorts of crazy methods to pass these cars, and it's working for him. He's flying through the field, but he's really got to watch out for those tires by the time he gets there. And Ricky Hart in the 64, don't forget about him. He is going with him. He's working his magic, trying to put himself in that top spot once again as well for the first time in the middle of a stint rather than at the very end.
Yeah, Ricky Hart under the 44 of Cale Zook, and he's doing everything he can to try and catch Guzik. Sitting there in 3rd position and honestly doing a great job to catch up to the 04. We'll see if he's going to truck along with Guzik or if he's going to try and get by him and challenge for first position himself. But you can see Brant Graham falling quick. There they are, all in the same camera shot.
Yeah, that gap now closing in between, or less than half a second to this point. Ricky Hart is now going to fall between that as well. Look at how close this is getting. They're making up a ton of ground to Graham. Might even get him before the line. The momentum here with these 2 cars is palpable. And look at that. It looked like Ricky Hart was almost trying to give him a shove there at a corner number 3. He knows that these guys really need to make up some ground if they want to make this burn the tires earlier strategy work. But side by side for the lead, Guzik's going to go all the way around on the high side of Graham. And again, Ricky Hart in the 64 kind of teaming up with them to do so. But Graham blocks the outside, trying to get in front of the 64 car.
Yeah, a little block there from Graham. Looks like the 64 had to cut up, but he's going to be able to get him right here. 64 flying up into 2nd position past the 14 car of Brant Graham. But Guzik, your leader yet again. Ricky Hart sitting in 2nd, Brant Graham in 3rd, and still falling. A little bit of a gap back before they get to the 7 car of Benjamin Lacey and Curtis Yancey, though.
And I feel like this race would really make a statement for the 64 car of Ricky Hart Jr. because, again, former championship winner last season now comes in this season. And I know we're very early into the new season, only 3 races complete to this point, but doesn't have a win quite yet. And I don't think he doesn't have a podium to this point either. So this race would be a massive statement for the former champion in terms of trying to go back-to-back and set a precedent that he'll be just as quick this season. And now he's looking at Brett Guzik, looking up the back of the car he was helping for a pretty long period of time. Now going to look to the inside and get a better run here off the corner. Looks like he's going to keep that thing off the outside wall. So if he can get behind him, get a good run to corner 3, we may have a new leader by the time lap 73, I should say, begins.
Yeah, last season, Ricky Hart Jr., he won 5 out of the first 6 races. So obviously not able to do that so far yet this season. He hadn't been able to really show his driving strength. But he's looking to pass the leader right now and kind of maybe get this win here at Atlanta and really show guys that he's here to make a name for himself. He may have been the championship last year, but he's here to do it again this year.
Well, one way to do it is certainly to take the lead and not look back, and he's now done the first half of that plan and makes the move there on Brett Guzik in the 04 car. So with only 42 laps to go in this race, which sounds like quite a few, but really with half a minute per lap, that's only about 20 minutes without a caution. So really not a long time left for Ricky Hart to hold on to that lead, but Brett Guzik is going to do everything he can to keep in the slipstream, keep in tow of that car ahead, and do whatever he can to hold that spot. Now going to look at Benjamin Lacey here, moving into the top 3.
Yeah, Benjamin Lacey sitting in 3rd position now. He has got past the 14 of Brant Graham. Brant Graham not too far back, though. Still sitting in 4th, able to stay in front so far of the 51 car of Curtis Yancey. Curtis Yancey doing everything he can to gain, though. The 51 car sitting in 5th right now and looking to gain on the 14 in fourth. Robert Mathis, a guy that led a good bit earlier, right now sitting in sixth position in a good spot, but the two of Nick Nickerson looking to take that away from him. The two of Nick Nickerson now moving his way into sixth. Robert Mathis down to seventh.
Yeah, Mathis, I'm not sure if maybe he's just holding out for the long run, trying to do one of those long bursts that he did before. He's going to have to avoid the that car in front of him. Had a very close moment, I think, the 82 car. I'm not sure who that was, but...
Yeah, the 82 car of Kim Janer.
Yeah, they came very close to making contact through turn one, but yeah, maybe he's just trying to wait and save up for that big run that he had in that last stint where all of a sudden he came out and made like 4 seconds up in about 2 laps. If he can do that again for a longer sustained period of time, he might be able to make some of those spots up again, but hard to remember that he was as far up in the field as he was through that last set of green flag pit stop cycles. So quite a fall there for Robert Mathis, but we'll have to see if he can turn it around.
And here you see the 92 car of Tony Hilbrands has now passed Mathis, and he's up into 8th position. And right in front of him, the 3 car of Zach Hillman, a driver that you were talking about earlier, a good one to talk about a night when we're talking about cancer awareness, like you said. But right now sitting in 7th position, a good spot for him, and looking to gain on the ones in front of him right behind the 2 car of Nick Nickerson.
Yeah, with the momentum he's had all race, I think he's one of those guys that if we do get a caution and we can bunch the field up, we'll definitely be in contention for a move into the top 5, maybe even onto the podium. But Zach Hillman going to peek to the inside of the 2 car off of turn number 2. Will he get the run he needs to make the pass? Nickerson didn't get a crazy run, so they might go side by side, but instead he's going to choose to get a little bit more of the slipstream, maybe hold with him until we get back to the tri oval, where we've seen quite a few passes be made side by side here to this point in the race. Going to drop back a little bit through turn 3, but now he's going to get the run he needs off of turn 4 and the slipstream of a lap car as well. Zach Hillman's going to send it to the bottom side by side as we come past the line, but now he uses them as a bit of a pick. The lap car will get in the way. So Nick Nickerson, at least for the time being, will hold on to the 6th place spot.
Another driver, a pass that was just off screen, the 88 car of Benny Hogan moving his way up into 9th position. The 29 of Robert Mathis back down to 10th. I believe Bill Harkins soon to make that down into 11th position. Right now the 11 car running in 11th, but working his way up, and right behind him the 97 of Eddie Hagge looking to work with him. Robert Mathis now falling fairly quick, may have used up some of his tires right now as we head on to lap 80, and the 11 car maybe a little bit loose there, going to fall back some now. Hagge moving up into 11th position.
Yeah, that infield tri-oval grass has spoiled the attempts, at least to pass, of a few drivers tonight. This race, we saw it happen to Trey Ellis a little bit earlier, but that battle there for 6th place is continuing to hold on. Hillman is continuing to stay on the draft, and as you see there on the timing tower, within about 2/10 all the way around, and Nick Nickerson is going to come into the pits kind of early. You got to think on this stint, Evan. I mean, you talked about 30 laps there. You would have thought you'd go past at least lap 90 if you wanted to make it to the end. If he pits now and you can't go 35 laps, then Nick Nickerson may be having to pit one more time before this race is over.
Yeah, we'll have to see what some of these other drivers do. Nickerson now about to go a lap down. You just see him heading into the pits right here. But a couple other drivers have already taken their 3rd pit stop, including Thomas Fensler, Zook, Trey Ellis, Healy, Nelson Franklin, Alan Castle. A couple of guys already have taken 3. And then you see the tires jacking up, so Nickerson will be getting tires there. But Ricky Hart Jr. in the Toyota, your leader right now, the Materia Tattoo 64 car. Brett Guzik right behind him, though, looking to make a move.
Really, I think the move he might be worrying about is Benjamin Lacey right behind him, who's made up a considerable amount of ground. I mean, Guzik's fallen back about 6 or 7 tenths here in this last couple laps, so he's not exactly catching up to the 64 Ricky Hart, who appears to kind of be in his element to this point in the run. But Benjamin Lacey he's finding pace. He's now within about 7 tenths, maybe even 6 tenths by the end of this corner. So he is finding time, and he is now in the draft in the 04 car. Yeah,
to see our closest battle on track, we're going to have to go back a little bit, and it's really Tony Hilbrands and Zach Hillman, that battle there for 6th position. Now Hilbrands is a little bit back, but it seems like every lap that I look, Hilbrands seems to be gaining a little bit. We also have a little bit of battle here between Bill Harkins. He's doing his best to catch up to Benny Hogan. There's a little bit of trouble there. The 39 car is going to be around.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, did you say it was the 99 of? The 39 there. Trying to remember who the 39 car is. Still got to associate with numbers, but one of the first major incidents we've seen all night, and no caution once again as a result.
The 39 car of James Healy went around. A little bit of a contact with somebody there. Not sure who he had contact with, but let's see if we can. Oh, just 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. My mouse decided it wanted to die. Let's see if we can watch that one more time now. See, contacting into the inside wall there, but I guess he was just able to get off track quick enough that luckily no caution there. Still green here, lap 84 of 115. Ricky Hart Jr., the car out front.
Yeah, that was one of those wrecks that I'm very glad was virtual rather than the real thing. That was a violent angle he took there into the inside wall. But since we went to that replay, new driver in second place, Benjamin Lacey has made the move there on the 04 Guzik. So feels like every time we go off to talk about something else, somebody finds a huge burst of speed and makes a move. And this time the winner of those sweepstakes was the 7 car of Lacey, who now is the 4 car of Trey Ellis as a pick to the car behind of Brett Guzik. A couple more cars, I think, coming into the pits as we're seeing guys cycling out of the top 5. Now Eddie Hagge, Bill Harkins, Benny Hogan seem to have gained spots, and one of those cars I just talked about is the 14 car of Brant Graham, now in the pits.
Also in the pits, the 3 of Zach Hillman heading off right now. Also the 38 of Peter Murphy in the pits. He was sitting up in the top 15 before. Nick Nickerson now sitting in 12th. He gained some spots. We saw him head into the pits just a little bit earlier. Right now he's sitting in 12th position, looking to gain a couple more spots as some of these other drivers head into the pits.
I'm still a little bit worried about his status, though, because if your theory about 30 laps pit cycle was right earlier, Evan, he's got to go 35 laps from when he last came in for more fuel. So gotta wonder there what his plan is. And if he's making the undercut work, pitting before everybody else up front does, maybe he'll gain some time from it. But certainly a risky move. And Nick Nickerson, a guy that I guess has already got his win for the season, he's checked into the playoffs already. Maybe he's saying, okay, we'll take some more risks in favor of trying to get our second race win of the year, and second in a row, actually, after Long Beach last week.
Yeah, and right now a new second place driver, the 97 car of Eddie Hagge, sitting in second place behind Ricky Hart Jr., and directly behind him, the 11 car of Bill Harkins. Well, directly behind, a little bit more than that, a couple lap cars in between him, but behind him on the timing board, the 11 car of Bill Harkins. Now, all these guys have only pitted 2 times, so they will need to pit once more. As there you see the 11 car heading in right now, as is the 64 car sitting on pit road. Means Eddie Hagge going to be your new leader.
Not a bad plan for the 97 of Eddie Hagge. He'll take the bonus points for leading that lap, and at least until he comes into the pits, he's in a pretty good spot. I think actually Garrett Hall in the 26 car, if he doesn't pit, might be able to make the move there. Oh, well, right as I say that, he does pit, so looks like Hart will be able to hold on to his spot. But look at Nick Nickerson now with all the pit cycles shaping out, and even Ricky Hart hasn't actually got back onto the track yet. Nickerson all the way back up to second, effectively, once Hagge pits, so again, I talked about the undercut, pitting sooner when you're on new tires, running quicker laps than those on older tires, running slower laps, and it'll gain you some time. But again, he's going to come close on fuel. So a big swinging for the fences strategy here from Nickerson. We'll see if it pays off.
Yeah, and real quick, as we're in this little cycle of green flag pit stops, there you see the 97 car currently running out front. So we head to a little bit of a wider shot so you can see the lack of cars around him as he comes into the pits right now. But real quick, want to go ahead and mention still down in the comments the link if you want to donate to Stand Up to Cancer. And so far we have had, on the live stream, we have had one person go ahead and donate. And that was for Hunter Henry, who's actually on the track right now in honor of Keith Henry. Went ahead and donated $50. So a big thank you to anyone who's going to go ahead and donate to Stand Up for Cancer. Of course, they do a lot for cancer research and just cancer awareness in general. So big shout out to them. As there you can see the 97 on pit road, Ricky Hart Jr., your new leader, as it cycles around, and Benjamin Lacey behind him about 4 seconds back.
So maybe Nick Nickerson took that final pit stop earlier than expected. You notice he was up there in third just a moment ago, actually second a moment ago, and now back into the pits. So again, I theorized that maybe he came in a little bit too soon on fuel. Maybe he had some damage he wanted to repair. Not too sure, but now that he's cycled out, going to drop out of the top 10, pushing Bill Harkins and Hunter Henry up in there. Speaking of Hunter Henry, so he's done a good job for himself tonight, moving back into the top 10, as well as Eddie Hagge, who he's been cycling out with the pit stop he just took, will maintain a spot in the top 10.
Yeah, like you said, Hunter Henry, the 94 car, sitting in 9th position now, doing a great job. And Nick Nickerson only down to 12th position. He's barely out of the top 10, now back on track. You see, he just took his 4th pit stop. And like I said, about 27 lap fuel windows. That's probably not running the quickest lap times possible. So the 2 car, now that he's back on track with only 24, 25 laps to go when he came out of the pits, he can push as hard as he wants. Now, the only thing going to be limiting him, of course, is tires, but fuel-wise, he can push as hard as he wants, and he's not going to have to worry about running out of fuel. So, who knows, this may be a race with some of these drivers up front, like Ricky Hart Jr., Benjamin Lacey, Curtis Yancey. Who knows how they're going to be doing on fuel, so maybe Nick Nickerson is betting that this is going to turn into a fuel race, and maybe they'll be running out of fuel. He's definitely going to have enough for the end. We know that for sure.
Yeah, in case we finally do get a yellow flag and we go to a green-white checker and we add on some laps to tonight's race, then maybe he'll be in a better spot. But one guy I want to talk about that I just noticed, he's in front of the 7 car of Benjamin Lacey, who is in second. Look at Robert Mathis there in the 29. I thought this was for position. I forgot that he had dropped back considerably, but I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe some troubles with lap traffic or something like that. But he was a guy that was running consistently there in the top 5, top 3. He was leading a large portion of the race, so not sure what happened to the 29 car, but he's had some troubles that have sent him back out of the top 10, now into 12th, and he's battling with Benjamin Lacey as he was before, but this time not for a lead lap spot.
Yeah, but if we do look at his teammate, Garrett Hall in the 26 car, looking to the inside of the 93. Hunter Henry was looking for the position on him, I believe, but the 26 able to pull away up into 9th position now for Garrett Hall.
Yeah, that I feel bad that we haven't really talked about much, considering especially it is his birthday. Christopher Ferrara there in the 13 car, sitting there in 7th. He is now, he's under attack from Eddie Hagge there behind in the number 97 car, but he's had a good race for himself as well. He started there in the 13th spot, so about 5 spots now. He's going to get passed there by Eddie Hagge, who moves into the 7th spot. Actually got a really wide there, going to lose a lot of momentum there off the corner, so maybe under attack there from Garrett Hall there behind, as well as Hunter Henry in just a moment, but at least for the time being, that 13 car of Christopher Ferrara making it work there. 8th place from 13th. Not a bad spot from such a tough track as Atlanta is on tires.
There you even see the 10 car of Matt Crockett. He's sitting in 17th position right now. He was able to make the pass on the 13, even though it wasn't for position, but the 10 car of Matt Crockett sitting in 17th position, definitely a quick race car. Looks like it has a little bit of damage, but able to work his way back just a little bit.
All sorts of chaos there up ahead of the number. Whoa, huge! Who was that? That is, I think it's Zach Hillman there in the 3 car. He's battling for 6th with Eddie Hagge. Huge slide there from that car. The 3 car all over the track, keeping it out of the outside wall and keeping his hands on the wheel. But you see the damage there to that rear splitter there on the back, and he's going to have Eddie Hagge pass him there for 6th. And again, it's such a momentum game at this point in the run. He's got both Ferreira and Hall battling side by side for 8th. That may become the battle for 7th in just a moment if Hagge can't get back up to speed. Now Ferreira involved as well. This is a 4-car battle, 4 cars within a second of each other, all battling for what is essentially the 6th place spot.
Garrett Hall with a good move down there to the inside, the 26 car sitting in 7th position right now. There you can see 10 car, lap car of Matt Crockett got down just a little bit too low. He's looking to make a move right there in front of the 97 of Eddie Hagge.
Christopher Ferrara has dropped back a little bit to go battle with Hunter Henry there for 8th, and now Zach Hillman's going to move back up into 9th after his big moment just a second ago. But yeah, Garrett Hall sitting, well, not exactly right behind Eddie Hagge, who's kind of moved on there back into 6th. A car in the back has gone around. I think that was that Christopher Ferrara? No, it wasn't. Trying to identify who that was.
It was the 13 of Christopher Ferrara.
Yeah, Christopher Ferrara becomes yet another car to kind of get loose there at a corner number 2. Not sure if that was assisted by another car, but it once again will not bring out a caution. Did a pretty good job of keeping it off the inside wall.
Yeah, it was going to be a great birthday for him, it seemed, but not now. The 13 car dropping back, now sitting in 13th, hoping he doesn't lose any more, but he will as he heads into the pits right now.
Yeah, shame to see. He was having such a good race to this point, made up quite a bit of progress, so Not much fun to see him get in a wreck like that. But that'll put the guy that I was just talking about a moment ago. It'll put Robert Mathis back into the top 10, and it'll put Nick Nickerson on the cusp as well of making it back up to the top 10 spots. So it's a pretty productive last couple laps for a couple of guys. But Zach Hillman, who, as we go live, appears to be, is he off the track? I'm not sure what's happening there. He's coming to the pits.
He's in the pits.
So, yeah, so a couple of guys are maybe having to go for more fuel. Maybe Nick Nickerson knew something that we didn't, that this might not be a 3-stop race as we originally envisioned.
Yeah, 4th pit stop here for the 3 car of Zach Hillman and getting more tires. So that's definitely going to be something. With 15 laps to go, the 3 car is going to be on fresh tires. You saw he was obviously very loose there that last stint, but he won't be anymore. He's going to drop some positions here since he's pitting under the green flag, but ought to be able to make him up with fresh tires.
Yeah, there goes Robert Mathis once again, as I just talked about. He's now up to 9th. Might make the move there on. Well, he just did make the move there on Hillman. So yeah, he's in a spot to continue to battle for positions. I think Hunter Henry should be not too far up the road there, up ahead. Once Ricky Hart laps him, and he'll become a lap down, just like the 29 car is. But yeah, one guy that I want to talk about in a moment is there is Hunter Henry again, the last car on the lead lap, trying to avoid the 64 car of Ricky Hart, not too far behind as he comes to the tri oval. But one car that I want to talk about there in the top 5, we haven't talked much about him since the beginning of the race, but Tony Hilbrands he's not exactly in contention there for that 4th spot, which, speaking of which, we have a battle there in third and 4th between Guzik and Yancey, so maybe we go to that first. But yeah, Guzik, look at Yancey there, but only maybe 3/10 back of that number 04 car, so he's got the momentum to maybe move himself into his first podium of the season, I believe, maybe first or second. But he had a very productive race, if I remember correctly, at Long Beach, and he's doing it again this week at Atlanta, as long as he can make up that ground ahead to Brett Guzik.
And there you see the 3 car on the fresh tires, heading outside of the 51 of Curtis Yancey, looking to make his way up, get himself unlapped now.
Yeah, it so perfectly shows you the gap between new and old tires there when you see a car on new tires just sending it through the field. Like, look at the 3 car of Zach Hillman. It looks like he's running an entirely different race, like I don't know, again, real-life NASCAR driver racing against somebody playing NASCAR heat casually. So he's just flying through the pack right now, but it's working for him. And now the closest battle on track becomes the battle for, well, still 4th if Yancey can make up time to Guzik. But Tony Hilbrands and Eddie Hagge here in 5th and 6th may have a battle in just a moment.
Yeah, Eddie Hagge in the 97 car. He's looking to catch up to the 92 of Tony Hilbrands. You see a little bit of front end damage for the 97. Not sure where that came from, but 10 laps to go, and Hagge is doing everything that he can to try and catch Tony Hilbrands for that 5th position. Want to wind up in the top 5. Big gap, though, from there up to the 51 car of Curtis Yancey. Curtis Yancey almost 16 seconds ahead of Tony Hilbrands. But like we said before, Yancey doing everything he can to catch Guzik, as a lot of these drivers have got spread out as it's now 10 laps to go. Ricky Hart Jr. doing a great job of staying out front, though, and trying to stay clean as he gets past all these lap cars, and now 5 seconds ahead of Lacey, 8 seconds ahead of Guzik, and almost 10 from Yancey.
Still keep an eye here on this battle for 5th, the final battle for the top 5 spots. Tony Hilbrands had a huge moment the last time through corner number 2. We're back here again, but Eddie Hagge is right on his rear bumper. Some serious oversteer on corner exit here for the 92 car these last couple of laps. So if he can find a way to keep that under control, he might be okay, but the momentum is certainly shifting in the direction of the 97 here. We'll see if he's able to hold on to that top 5 spot that he's held for quite a long time in this race.
Yeah, the 92 car got a little bit lucky with lapped cars, it seemed, and it was able to hold off the 97, but Hagge's doing everything he can to get into that top 5, and with 8 laps to go, he doesn't have much time. And speaking of not much time, unless there's a caution flag or unless something major happens to that 64 car, the Materia Tattoo Toyota Supra is well a ways out front. If you look back at the 5th place car of 92 and the 97 of Hilbrands and Hagge that we were talking about just a second ago, they're almost 27 seconds back, 26.3 seconds back. So a really, really big gap for those guys.
Yeah, he may be seeing him in his through his windshield in just a moment. Will Ricky Hart? He's coming up on them to the point where he may be able to lap everybody but the top 4 cars other than himself. So it's been quite a race here for Ricky Hart. And while Benjamin Lacey was keeping it with him for the time being, and I guess he's still in the top 5 or within 5 seconds of Hart, that I guess Lacey could still battle for that top spot if he can rattle off a couple of good laps here at the end. But generally speaking, Ricky Hart has just been on rails here in the second half of this race. It's not that he was ever slow in the first half, but it's really been a tale of two races for him. Looked like he was kind of just, trying to use that veteran mentality and keep the car on track and keep it saving tires for a while. But once he kind of put it in gear and said, let's go get some spots, he did so. And well, he's, as you mentioned, just about 5 laps away next time across the line, away from winning his first race of the season.
We've only had a couple drivers pit for 4 tires, but Nick Nickerson, obviously, he is the quickest of them. See the next driver that pitted for 4 tires, Zach Hillman, back down in 14th. Nick Nickerson just worked his way up into 10th position in front of the 90 car of Marshall Moran. But the 2 car of Nick Nickerson doing a great job sitting in 10th right now with 4 pit stops. Now, I know he's really hoping for a caution. He really wants things to be bunched back up, but we'll see what happens in the final 5 laps of the race here at the Stand Up to Cancer 115 at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
The battle again for 5th between Hilbrands and Hagee as the tires get worse and worse, and these guys would presumably be kind of separating once their tires got to different levels. They're still been hooked together this entire last couple laps of the race, and Garrett Hall and Hunter Henry the only other battle on track that could be for spots. But here's Eddie Hagee's perspective here in the 97 car. You see the 92 of Hilbrands at a corner 2 specifically appears to wash up, maybe lose a bit of momentum down the back straightaway. So that would be the opportunity there for Hagee to make up some spots. But again, 4 laps to go here. It'll be 3 next time Hart crosses the line. So not much time there for the 97 to put himself in the top 5.
And you can really hear with the 97, when he goes through the corner, you can really hear it on that last one, just how gentle he has to be with the throttle to try to really save tires and not use them up too quick, and also not get loose here at Atlanta. He has to be really ginger with the throttle, just barely in and out of it.
Yeah, you're essentially trying to convince the car not to put itself in the wall, which is by default what it feels like what it's trying to do, and he's doing it well. He's keeping it off the wall, and at this point, if he just wants to take points, it's what he needs to do. But it's going to be 2 to go for Ricky Hart Jr. here the next time by the line. Benjamin Lacey, again, trying his best to make up time, and he's gained about a half second these last 2 laps, but it's not going to be enough if he can't find about a second and a half per lap up to Hart, which, unless Hart gets in an incident here with some of these lap cars that are sitting in front of him, it's kind of going to be an impossible task at this point for the number 7 car.
Yeah, the number 7 car, he's 4, almost 5 seconds back, and he's doing such a great job. He's had such a great race, but it's just going to continue his trend of great races without the win, so we'll see how long that can last. But that's why that number 7 car is so high up in the point standings without a win. I believe he's pretty much in front of everyone else, well in front of anyone else that doesn't have a win. But a great run from him, just hasn't been able to get that elusive win that it looks like the 64 of Ricky Hart Jr. is going to be able to grab here in one more lap.
Well, it certainly does, and man, again, Ricky Hart, such a dominant season last year. I wasn't here for it, but seeing a guy win 5 of the first 6 races of a season is certainly impressive. And I mean, you talk about, he went 5 for 6 to start off last season. It took him a couple rounds to get it done here at in this season here with the Xfinity cars. But once he did so, Ricky Hart just dominated tonight at Atlanta. Had to make up a couple spots, had to keep the tires here through the last half of the race, but we got to go to his perspective. Green checkered flag here for Ricky Hart. 4th different winner this season. The 64 car takes the win at Atlanta Motor Speedway. You see the fist pumps. You see the arm extensions. He is excited. And after a race last week that maybe gave him some trouble at Long Beach, it's a pleasure to see him back on the podium and on the top spot to boot.
As we go back a little bit, Benjamin Lacey, the 7 car, able to finish there in 2nd position, followed by Brett Guzik. 51 of Yancey, Hagee, Hall, Henry. In just a second, we'll pull up our final standings. But before we go and pull up our final standings, real quick, we're going to head to a commercial, and we will be right back. What's up, guys? If you're watching this, then you already know. Here at Evanwall Media is where I do my broadcasting. 5 laps to go. Brandon Jackson in the lead. Nick Nickerson. And he turns him! The 99 of Jackson gets turned by Nickerson. But I bet you didn't know that I also do in-person photography and videography, as well as graphic design, including, but not limited to, iRacing paint schemes and posters. Check it all out over at evanwallmedia.com. Thank y'all, and you enjoy the race. Oh, I'm sorry about that, guys. I just realized that you could not hear us for just a second, so we're going to head back, restart our race results. We were listing them off, but that is all my fault, so I'm sorry about that, guys. So winning our race was Ricky Hart Jr. in the 64 car, followed by Benjamin Lacey, the 7 car in second. Then we had Brett Guzik, Curtis Yancey, Eddie Hagge in fifth. 26 car of Garrett Hall in sixth, followed by Hunter Henry, Tony Hillbrands, Robert Mathis, and Nick Nickerson.
Marshall Moran will be the next car after the top 10, followed by Bill Harkins there, moving up 16 spots all the way to 12th. Zach Hillman had another great race for himself tonight, moving up 19 spots to 13th. Matt Crockett will move all the way up to 14th. Benny Hogan rounds out the top 15. Michael Ramos will finish in 16th. Peter Murphy in 17th. Celebrating birthday, Mr. Christopher Ferrara there finishes 18th. Brant Graham had a great race for himself, but unfortunately finished 19th as a result of, I believe, an extra caution, or sorry, a extra pit stop, I should say. Then Thomas Funzo will round out your top 20.
In 21st, the 44 car of Cale Zook, followed by the 83 of Jason Greenwell. Then we had Trey Ellis. Victor Weaver in 25th, the 77 of Mac Nelson. Then you had Dustin Franklin, the Daytona winner, followed by Alan Castle, Kim Janer, Joey Zaremba, the 9 car in 29th, and in 30th, Mason Flagar in the 72.
Running out your field, the 4 drivers who were all a minimum of 37 laps down, sorry, the 5 drivers, I should say, are James Healy finishing in 31st position, Rob St. Helen finishing in 32nd, Jonathan Platt finishes 33rd, Cody Welch started second, moved back all the way down to 34th there at the end of the race, and Kevin Foster finishes in 35th as well.
All right, and as we round off our final standings, we're going to go ahead and go down now to Marshall Crocker with Brett Guzik, who finished in 3rd position. Go ahead, Marshall.
Hey, Brett, it's Marshall in the booth. You got me?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Awesome. Well, first of all, congratulations, man, on getting the on the podium position tonight. I mean, you talk about a track as tough as Atlanta. That's certainly easier said than done. And well, at the beginning, you had a ton of pace. Obviously, you were tonight's pole sitter. By the end of the run, it looked like a couple of guys just found some pace. Did you find it tougher than expected to balance out between trying to keep up your top spot pace and trying to conserve the tires, or did you find it a relatively easy balance to strike between the two?
First of all, it's just great joining you guys on the podium here. This is my first time actually even being on the podium in this series, so thank you all for putting this race on. But I got damaged earlier in the race. It kind of hindered me quite a bit later in the race. It probably knocked, 1 or 2 miles an hour out of the car. And then the last 2 runs, I unfortunately had to kind of save fuel and actually ran out of gas going across the finish line. So I had a few events that I would like to clean up for the next race. But I think I did all right for this is really like my first time actually even finishing a race up front here. So that's good.
I know you put in the work yesterday. It was great to talk to you yesterday in practice. So to see that you carried that over to tonight's race is a pleasure to see you make that progress here tonight. And I'll ask from your perspective. I mean, you really did it all. You went from leading the race, trying to defend spots, to moving your way back through the field there in that final stint. With how tough the tire wear is here at Atlanta, did you take tonight as more of a passer's track or more of a track that suits guys trying to defend spots for position?
I think it was more of just trying to catch cars at the right time a little bit, managing your tires, managing your fuel. I tried to run a pace there pretty much the whole race. When my car was a little bit better in the beginning of the race, it kind of paid off. But as we went along there, I got into a lapper, and eventually it kind of slowed me down. So I just couldn't potentially maintain that pace. And Ricky and them guys, they're on it 10/10 all the time. So it's really hard to hold those guys off when they're on it.
Yeah, most certainly. But tonight you were up to the challenge. You had the pace all race. I mean, you're for God's sake, you were the pole sitter. I mean, it's something you've had a lot of success with. So, what is it tonight that you talk about your first podium in the series, or at least this season or in general? I mean, what is it about tonight that seemed to work for you that you had all this pace with, and what tracks in the future do you think are going to suit that same kind of style that you have that works for you well in these races?
Well, I thought I had a good car at Iowa. I thought I had a top 5 run going there. Just didn't culminate there late in the race. Long Beach obviously had my issues. Actually dropped the mouse off of the car seat that I'm sitting in, so it actually disconnected me. So that was another failure. And then the first race of the season I didn't even make because I got in a wreck. So this is actually like the first real race that I feel like I actually completed. But so that's kind of like why you why it's kind of surprising to see me up on the podium, I think. But as far as the races to come, I would say that I'm really comfortable at the short tracks, the tracks that tire wear kind of comes into play. This was one of them, but it just didn't put all the pieces together tonight. So that's kind of my strengths. So going forward, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, I mean, as long as finishing the race in general is your qualifier for being on the podium, you gotta focus on doing that in the future, because it looks like once you can get in a comfortable spot and just run at a track you feel comfortable with, you find pace and you find the ability to take podiums. So, I mean, congrats, Brett. It was a great race tonight. It was a pleasure to watch. And well, as always in the interviews, this is your opportunity to shout out anybody at home, talk about whatever you want, or shout out some sponsors.
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank the sponsor for tonight's race, Stand Up to Cancer. It's really a great cause. I'd like to thank, I think my parents might be actually watching this race for once, so that's kind of funny. Whoever else is on Facebook watching that even knows who I am, well, shout out to you. And I'd like to thank just basically everybody who puts this together. Bill Harkins, Matt Crockett, you two, Evan, Marshall, you guys do a great job in the booth all week. Or every week, and so that's all I got to say.
Well, thank you very much, Brett. It was a pleasure to talk to you tonight. Hopefully, it's not the last time we do so this season. And again, if as you say, you just got to get to the end of the race to do as well as you did tonight, well, I'd imagine it will not be the last time we talk to you for a while. So have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Yes.
All right, then over. Finishing in second position was the driver of the number 7 car, Benjamin Lacey. Benjamin, you got a copy?
Yes, I do.
You ran a great race. You did a great job of staying up there and staying in second. Just couldn't quite catch Ricky Hart Jr. there at the end. Tell me, what were your thoughts on this race? How did it feel to go a full race caution-free? It's kind of something that we haven't been able to do the last couple of races. You know, there have been good bit of incidents, but I know you've been able to work your way through them all. How does it feel, though, to get up here, a caution-free race, and finish so well in it?
Yeah, it feels good to get a second place. Congrats to Ricky on the win there. I was hoping he'd run out of gas, but not in the cards for me today on that win. But yeah, it was an interesting race. Obviously, caution-free was really good to do, but really played into strategy, taking the tires when you're going to take the tires. It decided to run an extra stint on the first round, and then took tires on the second and third pit stop, and then just trying to save fuel as much as I could to the end.
Yeah, well, you definitely did a great job at it. And one of the things that I wonder, I noticed that you're very high up there in the point standings, even though you don't have a win. I believe you're one of the best drivers so far, even though you don't have a win. Have you been really racing for points, or is that just something that has happened to happen when you've just tried to go out there and do your best?
Yeah, it's just circumstances of game plan that have been putting together, just trying to get some good top finishes. You know, obviously, if you don't go for the win, then why you're really racing, is my opinion. You know, obviously do it cleanly, but always go out there to try to race for the win and, give the best finishes possible.
Yes, sir. Well, you've definitely done a good job at it, and next week we're going to head over to Lucas Oil Racetrack. So how do you feel about that track? I know you've seemed to have done well at every single track that we've been to. Is that a track that you're excited to go to, or is it a little bit different for you?
It's a short track, so just kind of depends, So I think it's shorter than Iowa even. So if it's anything like Iowa, it might be a little bit frustrating to sit through, but hopefully we can get some good long green flag runs in that. And I think that's really what I like to see, is good green flag runs and stuff. So, hopefully it plays out that way, but time will tell.
Yes, sir. Hopefully so. But before you hop off here, is there anybody that you want to thank?
There's a sponsor for Stand Up to Cancer this week. So, I think there's a lot of us who have been affected by cancer. One way or the other. I know there's a personal friend of mine who just got diagnosed with liver and pancreatic cancer. So something they're trying to cope with, as we all are. So, thoughts and prayers to everyone who's dealing with that, and Godspeed.
Yes,
Obviously,
sir.
you guys, Wall, Marshall, you guys do such a great job. It's fun to watch.
Thank you. Glad that everyone likes it. That was Benjamin Lacey in the number 7 car. And now I'm going to throw it back over here to Marshall, who is with your winner tonight. Go ahead, Marshall.
Hey, Ricky, it's Marshall in the booth. You got me?
Hey, Marshall, what's up?
Oh, not too much. And well, you've certainly had a much more productive last 2 hours than I have. I'd argue you had one of the better races I've ever seen somebody run at a track that's as tough as on tires as it was tonight. And I mean, I wasn't here last season to call broadcasts. So I haven't got to witness much of your work in general the last couple of years. But I heard last season you look at the winners from last year, and you were just rattling off wins there to start the season, and all throughout the calendar as you went on to win the championship. So it took you a couple rounds to get there tonight, but you get to round 4, and it looked like it was second nature to you. We had a crazy chaotic race a couple weeks ago at Iowa, the only like non-Daytona oval we've run to this point. Do you think those races that are more chaotic, where we get a lot of cautions, do those kind of give you some trouble? They don't give you enough time to work with? And was it kind of a refreshing change tonight to have a caution-free race here at Atlanta?
Very refreshing tonight. I excel on older tires. I feel like that's where I'm the strongest, and get out there, save the tires. And I feel like I'm a lot faster than those guys. Being on 40, 50, 60 lap tires, that first run, that first stint was, you could really see it. Like I was starting to catch everybody. I was making the passes, and I could see everybody making little mistakes and slipping. Yeah, Iowa 2 weeks ago, couldn't do anything. Like I did work from, I think I was 38th, missed the start, 41st, got up to 5th, but yeah, just can't do anything there when there's that many cautions. This was a good one.
And was tonight specifically with the tire wear such a factor? That long-term approach to the race where you really got to balance between the racer's instinct to try to make passes every single lap and run as fast as they can, and also the long-term thing of bringing the tires in and getting the best out of them for a long period of time. Is that a side of racing that you really take well to, and is it something you think you'll be able to do well the rest of the season?
If we keep having races like that, yeah, I think I'll do well. That's one of the big things that my competitors do. They get a little impatient. They want to pass as soon as they get up to that other car. I like to kind of run behind them for a lap or two, see where they're going to go. Are they going to stay up high? Are they going to go down low? Are they off the gas, real early? Are they diving it in? Where are they going to be? My biggest thing, I don't want to get in there and find out in 3 and 4 that, the guy in front of me likes to dive bomb it, or the guy, that I'm trying to pass likes to go from the top line all the way down to the bottom. That's not the place I want to find out. I want to find out when I'm behind him, give it a lap or two and then pass. So I like to be real conservative in my races. That's why, these long green flag runs, they suit me. I had a lot last year. It just worked out in my advantage. I hope we have a lot more like this.
Awesome. As do I. I know I certainly, and the people watching at home probably don't want a longer caution-filled race. So tonight was a refreshing change, and hopefully what we'll see going forward. But back to the short tracks next week. We go to Lucas Oil for round 5, and certainly a track that is, I think we just talked about in the last interview, I think a little bit shorter actually than Iowa. So you got to wonder, are we going to see a race more similar to round 2 there at Iowa, or something a little bit different? And certainly to your efforts, is there anything you're going to take away from the race at Iowa if indeed we are going to have a more chaotic caution-filled affair? Is there any approach change you're going to make for round 5, knowing what happened at Iowa?
Yeah, I'm going to get my rig set up an hour before and make sure I don't have any issues to where, I have a terrible qualifying start, and I'm going to just, try to keep it up front. I'm not going to pit as often. You know what I mean? I'm maybe try to use my tires up in the beginning and then hold on. It really worked for Brandon, just sitting out there, being in first place. You get the jump every time the green flag flies, and you're just able to stay up front. So that'd be, hopefully it doesn't go that road. Hopefully if we get long green flag runs and, and get out there and cut some of these guys up a little bit, left, right. Woo, have fun with that.
We can only hope, but as long as you're up front, I find in racing, it doesn't really matter what happens with the cautions, as long as you're on the same strategy and you're at the top spot. So best of luck for next week, next Wednesday going forward. And well, for now, as usual, especially with the winner's privileges for interviews, anybody you want to shout out, anybody you want to give thanks to, or any sponsors you want to mention before we head off the air?
Materia Tattoo, always shout out to them. They got my back. They do a lot of my work for me. And hold on. I had somebody else. Oh man, I hate it when this happens. My nephew Bubba. I told him if I want to race, I would give him a shout out. Something's going on. He was in the hospital for a little bit. He's out now. He's being rehabilitated, and I wish him a speedy recovery. Hopefully he's on here watching us, and did it tonight for cancer. Always like doing these races when there's a cause. It's good to race for something. So, I don't know who we got lined up sponsorship wise next week, but hopefully it's another good one, and hopefully we can go back to back and I get out there and win another one.
Awesome. Well, best of luck in that regard, Ricky. And again, not much better of a race to win than that with a good cause this week. So congratulations tonight, man. I'll see you next Wednesday, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Marshall. Thank you, Evan.
Yeah, well, with that is going to do it for tonight here at Atlanta. Obviously, a great run for the 64 car of Ricky Hart Jr. as well as Lacey Ann Guzik that finished top 2 and 3, but glad to have you here, and we hope to see you next week, same place, same time at Lucas Oil Raceway Park. But before then, of course, down in the description, of course, where you can donate to Stand Up for Cancer. So, of course, appreciate anybody that wants to donate. Big thank you to anyone who has donated. But other than that, we'll see you next week at Lucas Oil. Y'all have a great night.
See you, Evan. See you all next week.
Don't forget to join us next week as we head from Atlanta to the other racetrack in Indianapolis, Brownsburg, Indiana, the site of the track formerly known as Indianapolis Raceway Park and O'Reilly Raceway Park, but now called Lucas Oil Raceway Park, built in 1960. So join us there next week, same place, same time on the Evan Wall Media YouTube channel.